You couldn't drink hot tea until you had pottery. So they're saying it would have to be, it couldn't have been used by pre-pottery culture. Well, that's not actually true. What people used to do before they figured out pottery is they would make baskets. They'd weave them as tightly as they could. Something I enjoy as a basket maker is learning about this stuff. And they would take some ground nuts, some ground seeds, ground grain, whatever they had, and put it in there. And the grain would actually fill all the cracks. And at that point, it became a porridge. The porridge would actually fill all the cracks of the basket, and you had a watertight container essentially. They would fill it with water and take hot rocks from the fire and drop it in there. So baskets go back probably as long as recorded history. So people could have been using sage to purify their drinking water, to cure meats, for a variety of uses long before pottery culture. And basically, as soon as they could get something they could scrape with, they could make a cup out of wood. Very more common in the Norse cultures and Celtic cultures, these wooden cups. I think in Scandinavia they're called kuxes. But a hollow log would have been an early cooking vessel. Just a hollow log. If it was closed on one end, put water in it and drop hot rocks in it again. So no one really knows because baskets and wood they're not gonna hold up over 1,000 years like pottery would. It would break down. No one really knows exactly how our first ancestors cooked or when they started, but it's culinary anthropology is actually a really fascinating subject. It's something I enjoy. But, I can geek out on stuff like that another time. Let's talk about sage. In the history of herbal medicine, no herb has been more widely praised than sage. Nearly, I guess, every herbalist has heard the saying that is attributed to Hippocrates. No one knows who actually originally said it. Why should a man die when sage grows in his garden? In ancient Greece, it was considered a panacea, a cure-all for everything. Nobody would be without sage. It has a vast history of use in medicine, religious ceremonies, folklore. I would go so far as to say that the sage and wormwood families, which are, there's a lot of crossover between them, even though they are two distinctly different plants. Culinary sage is not related to, say, American sagebrush, which is in the wormwood family. The salvia family and the wormwood family are two different families, but there's a lot of crossover, kind of in use and in taste and smell. It's no coincidence that the name of the herb sage is the same term used for wisdom and visionaries. Sage advice, or you call someone a sage who, is very wise or a visionary. There are nearly 500 members of the sage family, that's salvia, and are used by humans wherever they grow. Every culture and every place on earth basically has a sage and uses it, except maybe very tropical areas. Sage derives from the Latin word salve, which means to heal. But it's also used as a greeting or a toast. It can mean be well or to your health. And if you're Catholic, you know the Salve Regina, which is the beginning of a Marian hymn. Sage may be the signature medicinal herb historically. So if you're only going to grow one herb, or if you're only going to grow a few herbs, I would definitely start with sage. Well, it's also really tasty. Who doesn't like sage and their sausage and their stuffing at Thanksgiving? I mean, it's really, it's good stuff. First writings of medicinal use of sage are very likely lost to time. It was recorded in the Ebers Papyrus, which comes from Egypt, which dates to about 1550 BC. And it was used by the Egyptians as astringent and for its antiseptic properties. The Divine Husbandman's Classic of Shin Nung, which is a pivotal work in traditional Chinese medicine, was written sometime around 2800 BC, and it describes the use of sage in ancient Chinese medicine to invigorate the blood for eye issues, etc. For the purpose of this article, it would be best to focus on one type of sage, Salvia officinalis. This is your culinary sage. This is what you're buying at the grocery store to put in your Thanksgiving stuffing. This is garden sage. It's the one the Greeks cultivated. It's the one we know the most about. I actually discussed growing sage previously, so full instructions, that's what I'm trying to say, on how to grow it, or in another show. No sense in running over that again. Sage is easy to grow. Okay, you can grow it from seed and it'll grow most anywhere. Sage is an excellent herb for digestion, all issues of upset stomach. It's antiseptic. You'll find it on the show on herbal antiseptics, by the way. Excellent gargle for sore throat. The absolute go-to for sore throat, because it not only can help with the infection, but it astringes, it shrinks the tissue, makes your throat feel a lot better. It can actually be a lifesaver in that regard, because if a sore throat swells up too much, the tissue gets boggy and it can cut off your breathing. And it really can be very dangerous. It helps ease toothaches. Sage can help dry mother's milk or reduce excessive lactation. It can also help decrease sweating. It can also help with excessive menstrual bleeding. It is a vasodilator, though, and can help reduce blood pressure while increasing circulation. It may help with depression. Externally, it's very useful for bug bites, wounds, and swelling. It has astringent properties. It shrinks that tissue. Bathing in sage can help with arthritis, hemorrhoids, inflammation, and infections, especially of the reproductive organs. And sage is also an excellent hair rinse to help reduce dandruff and darken hair. The lady that I learned a lot about herbs from, Rosie Hicks, she was part Cherokee, had long, like beyond waist length, black hair. And it stayed black well into her late 80s because she washed her hair with sage. And it kept her from getting gray hair, or it colored the gray hair black, however you want to look at it that way. Sage's antiseptic and vermifuge properties have made it very important in preserving meat. Vermifuge means kills anything from intestinal parasites to little microorganisms that would get on meat. And cheeses. Oh, sage and cheese is so good. Sage cheese, fantastic. That's an English specialty. Sage and sausage, sage and cheese, really hard to beat. It's an ingredient in many traditional dishes, and this was an herb that both prevented spoilage and aided in digestion. And as the old herbalists urge, no garden should be without sage, and neither should any kitchen. So y'all, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. I've given you two of the most important herbs in herbal medicine and in culinary use. Next week, we'll get into some more herbs. But for now, remember, start with the herbs of the old song: parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. You're going to have a medicine cabinet in just those four herbs, plus some onions and garlic. And then everything else just add on from there. So have a good one, y'all. Remember, my books and my spoons and baskets and all kinds of stuff make very good Christmas gifts. So keep that in mind. Judson Carroll, woodcraft.substack.com. And I will talk with you next week. Have a good one.
The information in this podcast is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or condition. Nothing I say or write has been evaluated or approved by the FDA. I'm not a doctor. The U.S. government does not recognize the practice of herbal medicine, and there is no governing body regulating herbalists. Therefore, I'm really just a guy who studies herbs. I'm not offering any advice. I won't even claim that anything I write or say is accurate or true. I can tell you what herbs have been traditionally used for. I can tell you my own experience and if I believe an herb has helped me. I cannot nor would I tell you to do the same. If you use an herb anyone recommends, you are treating yourself. You take full responsibility for your health. Humans are individuals and no two are identical. What works for me may not work for you. You may have an allergy, a sensitivity, an underlying condition that no one else even shares and you don't even know about. Be careful with your health. By continuing to listen to my podcast or read my blog, you agree to be responsible for yourself, do your own research, make your own choices, and not to blame me for anything ever.